I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. I've been thinking again about Lexuses and the cause. Surprise, surprise. And I know more about, actually, to clarify, more about Lexi than cause, because I'm just trying to rein it in. I forgot, my kids over Christmas got a Super Nintendo, like little compact revamp of the Super Nintendo where you've got like all of the games on it and it's quarter of the size. And they play a lot of Street Fighter 2. They're really into it. I remembered with glee when I was the Sumo E Honda, who's obviously the coolest. Closely followed by Dal Sim, the limb-extending yoga fighting chap who can't take a big punch. That's what I know. Thin guy can't take punch, shocker. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because the bonus round involves you having to smash up a Lexus LS400 with a drainpipe, which I forgot about. Yeah, there's a bonus round, and you have to level it. You basically have to hit it either with fists, or I think there's an optional drainpipe, and you just clack it endlessly for a minute. And the windows go in. Yeah, the window goes in, the bonnet goes in, and then it starts to crumple on its suspension, and I'm jumping on top of it, and because I'm a heavy sumo chap, I'm absolutely ruining it. And it's rather good. But I said to the kids, I went, oh, yeah, the Lexus LS400. And they went, what's that? And I went, oh, it's that car. Anyway, let's carry on. And
does then an animated Quentin Wilson come out and go, no, I had a buyer for that.
Quentin comes out.
Condition, not mileage. You've ruined it.
In fact, he should have been one of the optional people to have gone and given it a good shoeing.
Quentin wins.
Look, I could sell it in this condition, even now, for 800 quid. Easy, I'll do it right now. Watch.
Well, now look, on the note of the cause and Lexuses, I don't think you read your messages yesterday.
I was on the road a lot yesterday. I did a lot of road work.
Oh, that explains it. Because we had what I'm going to describe as a bombshell email from a listener called Connor Moran. Now, Connor's dad, Damien, was the man who told us the long-distance reversing story when we did the live show at Lotus.
I do remember that, yeah.
So Damien's son Connor wrote to us, and so we didn't realise this, but Damien, Mr. Long Distance Reversing, is a mechanic in Dundalk, which, as we established last week, is the hometown of the cause.
Oh, gosh.
But what Connor says to us in this message is incredible.
I am sat down, so it's okay.
Jim Core has only recently asked Damien, long distance backwards Damien, to resurrect the LS400.
Oh, sugar, no way.
I should have done a previously on Smith and Sniff. Yeah. Last week someone wrote to us and said that the Core's father has died a few years ago and was a long-time Lexus LS driver, and his last LS was just sitting on the driveway of his house, as far as we knew, untouched, looking a bit sorry for himself. Well, anyway, Jim has recently asked Damien to resurrect the LS. It hasn't been touched yet. We have permission to wait if you want to come and witness the revival.
Oh, my gosh. Do you fancy going to Ireland, Rich?
Well, I do now. I mean, I did anyway, but I do more now, because we keep saying we're going to do a live show there, and we will at some point. But this is what an incentive to go to Dundalk. Connor continues, we've asked Jim what cars he has, and he's replied, I've an old Lexus SC430 and a Lexus RXL 450h. I have to change in September, so I'm looking at an RX 500h F Sport. I find it hard to stray from Lexus.
Oh, is those exact words? I find it hard to stray.
These are in quotations, yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's a Lexus loyalist.
Connor says, I also know he's had a Subaru Impreza in the 2000s and a helicopter. We'll hopefully be able to feed back on what the other cars drive. Unfortunately, I can confirm Jim does not own a Snap-on toolbox. Connor,
what I love about this podcast is that you, the listeners, You can stretch your roots so far. We can infiltrate anywhere we want to. We have people.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
We have people who work in the defence industry, policing, military, politics, Irish mechanics. You name it. It's incredible.
I did double check with Connor that we were okay to read that out, so we're not betraying any confidences. But yes, Connor and his dad Damien are at some point going to resurrect the Lexus LS. I'm talking to Connor on email.
Lexus.
We will discuss further. But thank you for the message, Connor. That is incredible, and thank you, Damien, as well, for being the king of backwards reversing.
That's really propped up my 2024 so far. That's brilliant.
Well,
really.
Now, what's wonderful about this? To your point that our listeners have incredible information to share with us, another listener, Derek Lynch, has got some supplementary info which backs up what Connor says about Jim Corr's Impreza.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Derek says, listening to this week's podcast, I heard you talk about the Corrs and what cars they drove. It reminded me of something I saw as a kid in the 90s in a local newspaper, the Anglo-Celt. There was a photograph of Jim Corr taking ownership of his new Subaru Impreza Turbo, first-gen model. It must have been somewhere between 94 and 99. The photograph was in the paper because the dealership wanted people to know that celebrities bought their cars there.
Well, so I bet that was the success of one of their first albums, one of their early albums, which would have been mid-90s, I think.
Yes.
I first heard about the Corrs in 97, 98. Because I used to sit next to a graphic designer called Mel on my first journalist job, and she laid out the pages of the mag, and she used to listen to music, and I didn't really. And I remember she used to really listen to the Corrs a lot, and that's how I got into the Corrs. Thanks, Mel.
Just looked this up. So their first single, Runaway.
Yes, tune.
That was a pretty big hit, wasn't it? And that was 95.
Was it 95, was it? Okay.
According to Wikipedia, that was 95. It's actually, I mean, that song, I feel like that song was huge. I mean, everyone knows that song, don't they? But I wonder if it was a slow burner, because even in Ireland, it only got to number 10 in the charts.
Really?
And in the UK, it peaked at number 49.
Oh my gosh, it wasn't a top 10.
Yeah, it wasn't a massive hit.
I think it was a slow burner. I think it just kept coming back.
Burner. I mean, it's funny. You look at the Corrs single chart performance, and
Richard, we're on a podcast, just so you know. We are recording a podcast today.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot for a moment there. Yeah. No, even their most successful song in Ireland was in 2000, and it was "Breathless," which got to number 3.
Yes, go on, leave me breathless. It's because Jim was talking about the sheer force, the accelerative power of the Impreza. He'd taken all his sisters out, and he'd absolutely dropped the clutch at 6th thou, and the thing had just dug in and gone. Yeah, and that was the sheer inspiration for that song, "Leave Me Breathless" in brackets STI mix. Oh no, not STI, Impreza STI
mix. That song actually got to number 1 in the UK, but not in Ireland. It's interesting. It's almost like in their home country, the Corrs are not as popular as they are elsewhere.
Do you know
perhaps what? Because they're always terrorising villages in their high-performance Japanese cars.
That's what it'll be. It'll be Jim doing one-wheel peels in the SC430.
Yeah. Andrea absolutely lighting it up in a heavily modified R34 Skyline.
Oh, gosh. Imagine. Oh, imagine.
You need a moment
brilliant.
now to imagine that.
So let's just recap on their names. It's Andrea, Sharon, Caroline and Jim. Yeah.
Some listeners have pointed out that on a less promising note, Jim is quite a nut for conspiracy theories these days, particularly around COVID.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I don't know how that relates to the Lexus, or possibly it doesn't. I'm going to say it doesn't. But
conspiracy theory Lexus.
Well, it's because it's so quiet in there. He's got more time with his own thoughts.
He thinks that he can't remember the last time he put fuel in it, so he thinks it's fueled by something else, like fear, or I don't know.
Or we're all being controlled by hidden dinosaurs.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of...
David Icke is a lizard.
Yes. No, I think I don't know. Let's not get into that. Oh, man. So speaking of Lexus, I saw the other day, not in person, but online, have you seen the Lexus LM? Big people carrier thing. It's basically like an Alphard by Lexus.
Is this a thing that's been out a while?
Well, it has, but I didn't realise until the other day that they're selling it in the UK.
What? A Lexus people
just
carrier?
Gone on sale, I think. Yeah, it's called the LM. It's right there, bang slap, front and centre on the Lexus website if you go there now.
I'm on it
UK.
now.
And
All new
fact,
LBX, UX, ES. We did a review of the ES. We both found it pleasant.
we did, didn't we? Yeah.
RCF, which I still think is a great looking car. RZ.
Yeah, and it's hanging on in there, isn't it?
It's a 90 grand airport shuttle.
Yeah. Now, our mate Jason Barlow reviewed it for Top Gear, I think in Japan. It's on the Top Gear website, and reported good things, particularly about the back seat, as you'd hope, because they've really gone to town, and it's not just a van they've slapped some leather seats in. It's got proper sort of business class rear seats, and it sounds incredible, but it is very expensive.
It is, isn't it? I'm booking that in. I'm totally reviewing that.
I was going to say, I feel like that is right up your street, and mine, frankly, just for sheer novelty value.
I have been putting together an MP Visa Cool Again kind of group test idea. But this might be the figurehead. We'll see. It does look like a very fast Japanese bullet train, doesn't it?
Well, that's the thing. It's cut from the Alphard cloth, definitely. Or what's the L Grand? It's in the L Grand spectrum as well.
Alphard. It's just the thing about Alphard is, to me, it sounds like a combination of a fantasy character or a guff that's gone wrong. And you'd be like, oh God. you go, yeah. I just thought I'd quickly let some air out before that big meeting. And unfortunately, it turned into an Alphard. And you're like, oh.
Alpharded, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Mr. Brown left the building unexpectedly. Yeah. Talking also, since we sort of are, about Japanese cars, can I just give a shout out for the Mazda MX-5?
Please.
Because I saw one yesterday. I was just walking down the street and an MX-5, a current shape one, went past me.
Yeah.
And it looked so tiny in a good way. It just looked really sort of little and agile and small in a sort of brilliant kind
confident
of like, look at that little fella. Yeah. And I haven't driven an MX-5 for ages. But I just thought, they're still great, aren't they? I gather that latest one is still really lovely to drive. And we kind of forget about them these days.
I think we do. We sort of take them for granted because they've always been there. But you're absolutely right. I think it's that small car, that confidence in being small but very good. And there is a lack of that in the industry. But weirdly, you should bring that up because I sent an email to Mazda only last week going, I think it's been about 76 years since I drove an MX-5. Can I get one in? And they went, well, we're about to get the brand new ones on the fleet. So do you want to wait till then? And I thought, actually, I don't want to wait till then. I want to drive the last of the other ones before I get in the new one because it's just a little bit better for reviewing reference. But it's well, as I've said before, I know I have an unpopular opinion about MX-5s, but it's I really love the way they drive and the way they're put together and the ethos of them. I'm never totally convinced by their looks. Never. None of them.
I find that current one, the last one, the Mark III, looked a bit amphibious to me.
It did. It
looked like at any point you could just drive it into the English Channel if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, it'd be fine.
The current one, I think, is rather nice, quite cute. And the other thing, we were talking last week about folding metal roofs and how they never work properly, and your experience with, what was that company called? Northern Roofs, brackets Northern.
Car Hoods Northern. Yeah.
Yeah, that they just leak from the factory.
They do.
But is the exception the metal roof on the RF version of the MX-5?
Well,
I don't know.
I think that's pleasantly simple as well, isn't it? Because otherwise it wouldn't have made it onto a Mazda MX-5. So,
and normally I would say, well, why would you bother? Because the MX-5 with the cloth hood is so simple and so sort of true to the ethos of that car. why would you want the extra weight and complexity of the folding metal roof?
Yeah.
But I do think that RF one looks really good.
Yeah, there's an orange one that goes around here locally, and I keep seeing it, and it's used every day by a middle-aged couple, and it looks great. I think that that's what it is. I think they used to do MX-5s in quite bright colours, and I'm not sure they do anymore. I could be completely wrong. I haven't checked
they
before.
They went through a period of doing... Weren't there sort of... Do you remember the Mark 1 MX-5 that was basically... It was second only to the Citroen AX in the number of limited editions that they did.
Yeah.
It was just endless. And I'm pretty sure there was a bright yellow one. Was it called the California or something?
Oh, it was... It wasn't California. It was like Nevada or bloody... Think of another hot state.
New Mexico,
something like that. Yeah, I nearly bought one of those secondhand when the Series 2 was at its lowest value, and they were rot. They rot like hell, don't they? I nearly bought one for my dad because my dad really likes them. I thought I'll get that for Bob. I'll get the sills done. Give that to Bob.
But no dice.
No, in the end, I bottled it. I just thought, no, actually, I'll buy a mint one instead at some point. And then the prices went up, and I got cross, so I never bought one.
Yeah. I was going to look this up because, of course, original MX-5s always look great in bright red as well. So I think you're right. I don't think you can get it in bright red anymore, but you can get it in that really rich red that Mazda do now. Is it called Soul?
Soul, yeah, Soul red. It's the best red in the world at the moment. I think it's the envy of Ferrari owners, but they will never admit that. But that's what I'm convinced it is. It's
there's a page here on Mazda's own website which says that, and I don't know when this is from, that Mazda have done over 50 special editions of the MX-5.
Bloody hell! There will be listeners shouting at their speakers now saying that limited edition is it's not called Navajo or whatever, it's called this. My internet stopped working, it seems, so I can't follow up on this, but anyway, there was definitely a bright yellow one and various others. I remember the Mark II. Do you remember then they came out with I think it was 10th anniversary edition of the MX-5? And it was a lovely blue colour with polished wheels. But I think it was the first one that had a 6-speed box on it in the UK. Yes, I do. I do remember that. I was part of... No, I wasn't part of the launch of that car. No, it was... do you know what? I've got distracted because you are right. There was a California edition, but I think there was an Arizona edition as well.
Oh... Just sort of hotter and dustier.
Yeah, so they were separate things. You were right. There is a Cali version.
Yeah, I've just got it here now. This article is finally loaded. It says 1995, the MX-5 California was the first special edition to feature the recently released 1.8 litre engine,
which it needed.
In keeping with the name, it was only available in sunburst yellow.
Sunburst.
You don't want the sun to burst, though, do you? I mean, that would be awful.
No, the sun bursting with the sun would be a really bad thing. No, I wouldn't want to do that. I think what it is about the MX-5 is I'd like it to look a little bit more Japanese and mad. Ideally, I'd like it to have more buggy eyes. I'd like it to look more like an AutoZam thing,
yes.
or a, you know what I mean, or more like a Honda Beat or a Suzuki. I still think the Suzuki Cappuccino is my favourite looking out of those. And if someone said to me right now, you can have an excellent condition first-gen MX-5 or a Kappa, which one would you get? I'd go for a Kappa.
Sorry, this is sort of tangentially related. Tenuously. A listener called Tom Winter. Appropriately, Tom Winter, who's up in Kendal. Now, I was up near Kendal this winter, and it absolutely wazzed it down. It's the wettest I've ever been.
Oh, really? Is that why? That's why you've got a cold?
It probably is. Yeah, I think it was lurking. Anyway, Tom says, "Sorry for the late participation in this segment of your podcast." Which is misheard song lyrics. Well, it's a kind of ongoing theme.
It is.
So I don't think you're late, Tom. Tom says, I'd completely forgotten that in Get Up, Stand Up, Bob Marley clearly announces that heaven is a Honda dealer, which of course would make sense, for God does not speak of his own accord. I suspect it is a 2005 2.4 Type S Tourer in Arctic Blue.
Oh,
Regards,
gosh.
Tom. I love the specificity of that. But yes, it's true. It's in the Bible, isn't it? God does not speak of his own accord. A friend of mine once saw the Archbishop of Canterbury getting out of a Honda Accord. So
Really?
Yeah, not the current one. The last one was it Rowan Williams. Yeah, saw him getting
That's
out the
brilliant.
back of a Honda
An Accord warrior. I miss the Accord, damn it. I bloody miss it in the UK. If you're listening to this in the States, I think you guys still get it. But we don't.
I did, after Tom sent in his message, I did listen to Get Up, Stand Up, but he's right. It's in the first verse. It does sound a bit like he says, heaven is a Honda dealer. Which...
Well, can I just say, if heaven was a Honda dealer, can you just make sure that all the very specialist Honda oils were a little bit cheaper? Because it's just daft.
Yes.
It's just daftly expensive and it's making me cross.
Have you got your power steering sorted out? Oh, okay.
I'm driving. I haven't driven it much. Because I'm scared, but also I've been using the other Honda, and also I went on a barn find two days ago. That was the vehicle that we were going to dig out was an air-cooled VW. So I thought I'll drive my Beetle for the shoot, and I'll use it for the intro.
Yeah,
and it was a 5:45 start from home. And of course, driving in pitch dark in rush hour.
5:45.
5:45 start because I had to get to sort of Staffordshire. And of course, the Beetle is, it'll do 60 happily, absolutely happily. But I don't want to drive it. I don't want to drive it at 70 really for 3 hours.
Yeah,
and so I picked up my mate Tim, who's a VW guru, had a load of tools in the back, and it felt like I'd rewound time to pre-internet era, driving that car with the heating that does work well after about 10 to 12 miles. So useless in short-term commuting. And, just giggling and buzzing along. But you realise the night before I had a panic and went, oh, man, I've got to use the headlights. I don't think they're very good. And then I went out there and you can take the headlights out of a Beetle with one screwdriver in 5 seconds. It's one screw. And I adjusted them till they were actually half decent, Rich. And then one of the running lights wasn't working. I was like, why isn't the running light working? It's because it had just fallen off the back of the seal beam unit and was just dangling in the wing. So I got some super glue and just super glued the little bracket back on. It's like, I just fixed my headlights completely in about 10 minutes with one screwdriver.
To me, your running light was dangling in the wind.
It was. It really, really was. Can I just say, modern car drivers, listen. Even if you're not interested in cars, look, guys, listen. Here's the situation. Please don't drive right up our arses, and please don't cut in front of us and then lean on the brakes, because that's just like hell for an old car driver. You wouldn't do that to an old person. You wouldn't barge them out the way when you were walking into Boots, would you? You wouldn't go in front of an old person in Morrison's and then just suddenly lean on the trolley and wave it in front of them just to irritate them. Don't do it. Cars are old. Old cars they've lived a little. They've been around. Give them a bit of respect, damn it. Your flutes, especially your BMW flutes. There's a lot of them. Problem is, the grill's bigger than ever. So when you look at
the sound of a worm can being opened?
God, just BMW flutage. It's the huge kidney bean thing. It's just bloody stupid. Honestly. I don't understand. I won't go off on a tangent. I'm just going to say, I don't believe anyone from the BMW design department goes home, sits down on a chair, sips from their designer wine glass and goes, I think we've got a good-looking lineup at the moment. I don't believe you. I think you're lying, and I think you're going to live in regret. Anyway, on to the next subject.
Well, since we've been talking quite a bit about music, we might as well carry on that theme, just because we had a message from a listener called Wes.
Hi, Wes.
Who says, I heard you both talking about Natalie Imbruglia lying naked on the floor in her song Torn.
That's right.
Which we were. Another listener reassuring you that Natalie wouldn't get cold because he knows for a fact that in real life she has a high-quality underfloor heating system. We did get a message from someone who had experience of Natalie's actual home arrangements. This is true. I think we read that out at the Stellantis live show, didn't we? So, but Wes says, I'm concerned that you've both overlooked an important and worrying detail in the song. Later in the track, she sings, "I'm all out of faith, this is how I feel. I'm cold and I'm ashamed, bound and broken on the floor."
Oh, she's bound and broken.
Wes says, "If she's both bound and broken, this suggests that Natalie has suffered a robbery, perhaps by thieves taking parts of her expensive central heating system."
Oh, gosh. They've robbed
troubling.
They've robbed the copper, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh, it's for the pipes, yes.
The lead and the copper. They've just come and taken it all.
Well, that's it. They heard Imbruglia's got the most copper of anyone in the neighbourhood because of her fancy...
I thought she was shaven on the floor. I was convinced of that.
It is not that. No. It is bound and broken. I when he said it, I was like, oh, yeah, it does say that, doesn't it? That's quite a haunting image.
It
bound
is.
And broken. That's horrible. She has been done over by intruders.
Yeah, I definitely... traded ashamed for shaven, which is probably not right.
Yes.
Anyway,
Natalie, please, if let us know you're okay, because we're worried now.
We are worried. We hope you're all right. And also, just now that we've got some amazing Cause car intel, just one more shout to anyone knowing Sade. If we can really get to the bottom of this rotary Wankel interest.
This is the one. This is kind of our white whale, isn't it?
Well, it was her birthday 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we mentioned it, didn't we? Mm-hmm. I do have a couple of bits of intel on Enya, if you're interested.
Oh gosh. Okay.
One of them is from David Connolly. David says, "Sorry, I don't know much about the Cause since Jim lost his mind, but Enya lives in my neighbourhood.
Oh, wow.
And her early noughties chauffeur-driven Maybach is regularly seen swanning around the Dalkey, Kilkenny area of Dublin, curtains closed."
Seriously, so she still has a chauffeur driver now?
Well, I think she still has a early noughties Maybach is more of it. Another listener, Tim Johnson, he was in fact the chap who suggested that you should pan swap a Tesla Model 3 with an AMC Hornet Sportabout.
Oh, he's that. Well, if he can find one, then let's talk.
You're making people. When we said, listeners, you do the work and find the matching wheelbases, you're now making them find you the actual cars as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. I know you're busy. So, but Tim says, in response to the question about probable car choices of various pop stars, I found this brief article about Enya in the Irish Times from 2005.
Oh.
I don't think it's been covered before, but is there a more unlikely performer-car combo than this? And it is, again, it starts by talking about a chap called Ronan, who's a real estate magnate in Ireland, and they identify him in the article as one of only 2 Irish people to own a Maybach. The other is none other than Enya.
She loves a Maybach. So I wouldn't have had her down as a
Yeah, and that was from 2005, so she clearly got the Maybach back then. But
I thought she'd be a bit more free-spirited than that. I'd like her to have a Mazda Bongo Friendly or something like that. that's had all the interior remodeled, and it's just got 2 Business class electric massage seats, like the ones in the Maybach, actually, in the back of. So it looks like a kind of gap year camper van, but actually it's Enya's stealth chariot. I think that'd be wonderful. Don't we think? And if you pop the roof up, you can have an impromptu sort of karaoke session. There's various microphones around her. Turn it into a booth, a sound booth. Not that she needs it, because she'd just go back to her castle where she's probably got
Well, exactly, a castle where she's probably got like a 96-track studio in the basement. Finally, a chap called Nathan English got in touch, says, I was having a chat with my good friend Cormac recently, and he mentioned that on a recent cast you'd said you hadn't been able to locate any information on Enya's vehicles. Well, as it happens, he might have cracked that case on that side of things. He stumbled across the Maybach while on the premises of Igel Studios in Kilkenny in South Dublin. I think it's Kilkenny. Sorry if it's not that. Please see below various attachments pertaining to Enya's one-owner Maybach, including a shady, covert photo of said vehicle from a distance away. And sure enough, there's a proper like spy picture taken through some trees of a Maybach. I hope you enjoy this wee shrivel of information and give Cormac a wee shout out on the cast for me, please. Well, thank you, Cormac.
This is just great.
He took the picture. That is brilliant. Happing/stalking.
I don't know if this is of interest to any of the listeners, but to me, I'm finding this really fascinating. Cause car intel, Enya car intel. It's all very Irish-centric car intel, but it's okay with me. I love it.
I know. I don't know how we've now Cormac. Just the shout out is given, and thank you for the information. But Nathan has also provided a little bit of fleshing out the picture of his friend Cormac by including a picture of his P38 Range Rover. So we know that Cormac is a brave man.
Yes, he is a brave man.
And he also has a Mark I Twingo.
Oh, what a combo.
Which is excellent, in that brilliant green colour that they originally came in.
I saw loads of panel damaged Twingos when I was in France a month ago. I started to take pictures of every single one, and then I looked down the street as we were walking to the restaurant where we were going to have dinner, and I realised, shit, I'm going to be late for dinner if I photograph all these, and it's a bit sad. So I just picked a couple of the best and then just talked about them to people who would listen. They are. I do worry that,
in fact, Cormac's Twingo is not factory spec, because I can't see any panel damage on it whatsoever. And of course, as we know, I mean, we have to assume they were made with Parisian bodywork.
They were made, yeah. Right at the end of the line when they're doing quality control, the QC guy has like a rubber mallet and he just twats it on one of the corners and goes, "Yeah."
Oh, I see. I thought just at the end of the line there were a couple of people in really tatty Peugeot 205s with no wheel trims would just nerf into the freshly made Twingos before they got put on a transporter.
Oh, what, they've parked really close together and you have to drive the Twingo between them to get out of the
Yes,
factory.
Exactly, yeah. Or when they were parking them in the dispatch yard, then someone in a really, really battered AX would just park far too close to the back of it and you'd have to do nudge parking to get out again.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
And they're smoking and shouting at one another just to keep it authentic. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Well, yes, obviously, as it came off the line, somebody would go and smoke in your brand new Twingo just to give it full,
just blow, just wind the window down and blow some in, and then wind it back up again.
Yeah, it's just to get it. We've actually got a smoking robot now. The factory is very high tech, so we don't have to have. Traditionally in the Renault factory, it would be men, maybe a woman smoking, but now we have a smoking robot that makes the car stink of tabs.
So stupid. I'm really pissed off to announce there's been no word from either the Eurotunnel or Karcher or Henry about whether or not my idea of vacuuming on the Eurotunnel train whilst you're waiting for your, in your car. There's no word on that. I think it's a genius idea. This is just the license to print money, as far as I'm concerned. No one's got in contact yet, which is tragic. Sorry.
Now somebody, and I'll never find this again, but somebody did get in touch and point out that the chances of a onboard vacuum cleaner built into the Eurotunnel working correctly, given the state of their bogs, pretty small. And they do have quite terrible loo facilities, don't they?
Well, I've only ever used it once. I'm sure I've talked about it with you in either a Smith & Sniff video or a previous podcast. I made the terrible, terrible error of getting on the train needing the lav rather than going in the main facilities. What an awful idea. I had to push through about 13 extremely heavily sprung doors, run along all these carriages, and then when I got to the destination, it was one single toilet, and it was nothing short of train spotting spec. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It was harrowing. It was a terrible start to my my French journey, frankly. I don't like to talk about it, but I would say to anybody, save the train time for vacuuming and not toilets.
Yes.
Okay? Thank you.
I made a note to talk about this because I think we briefly talked about it in real life, that someone we know here who's in their 20s said, I've got to take my car to the garage because someone's broken one of the wing mirrors. And I thought how funny it is that that's a sort of phrasing that has been handed down through the generations, even though cars haven't had wing mirrors for about 50 years.
That's true. Yeah.
Apart from JDM imports, but we'll ignore that.
Yes.
She doesn't drive a JDM import, it's an Astra.
Okay.
But she said, the wing mirror's been knocked off. And I just thought, it's quite quaint, that, isn't it, that people I don't say door mirrors.
No, you're right. We do just say wing mirrors, don't we? which must confuse Americans even more, because obviously wings are fenders there, aren't they? So so they might just go, I don't even know what that is, but it's obviously a mirror of some sort.
Well, what's baffling to me is that why did they end up on the wings in the first place? Because until the advent of electric adjustment, which I guess was then embraced by JDM manufacturers to keep the mirrors down that end, I don't know, do you get a better view maybe? Because pillars used to be more upright, so your door mirror would be closer to you because the base of the screen would be
Was it lack of curved glass available, mirror glass?
Maybe that's it. And mirrors were tiny, weren't they, as well?
Oh, yeah, they were absolutely tiny. I mean, my Dodge Charger's got tiny. This is the thing that amazes me about American cars of yesteryear. Huge cars, tiny mirrors, and the ignition key is about the size of a child's tooth. So you're like, you can lose you can lose your key, or just simply not be able to get it in between your fingers to open the door or the ignition. And you just think, this is a gigantic car. Why are you giving me such a ludicrously tiny, pathetic key? I'm surprised Americans put up with it. I thought they'd be picketing and rampaging about it.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also, I suppose they had to make American mirrors bigger so you could fit all the writing on them about objects being closer than they appear.
Yes, that's right.
Which I think everyone's got the message now, haven't they? I mean, they've been doing that in the US for what, like 30-odd years at least? It's like, we know now. We know how mirrors work.
They must be.
Objects in the rearview mirror may be not the same way round as they appear in real life. It's like, yeah, we know. It's a mirror.
Yeah, we know that.
Statements of the bleeding obvious.
It's just a quick one. We get a lot of messages on Smith and Stiff, which is lovely. We're not the greatest at getting back to you, which we've said before. Can people please now stop DMing me Scenic Pisses Instagram handle and videos? Yes. They're imposters. It's plagiarism. I started the Piss Vista Instagram many, not many years ago, but several years ago. And admittedly, I have forgotten my login details, so I don't update it very often. But I was there first. Scenic Pisses is not an interesting enough name for what is a great pastime, and they're getting unbelievable traction. But I just feel like I'm being blatantly copied, and I'm quietly angry about it, Rich. Quietly angry.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
You have been banging that drum for a while, and
Piss Vista sounds great, right? Scenic Pisses doesn't sound great. They could have come up with a much better name.
No, there's no rhythm to it, is there?
No.
It's just, yeah. I know. You're right to be aggrieved. But
Panoramic Piss, I would have done that, or panoramic.
Pano Piss. God, that, yes.
Exactly. See what I mean? I did an amazing one in Wales yesterday afternoon. Absolutely idyllic.
Oh,
yeah, it was so green and lush and rolling hills and everything. I was just rinsing my kidneys, just breathing in that lovely hilly air. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Sweet have, adventure.
My trip to the lakes, the first day we went walking up the hills, it was before it started raining in a biblical style. It was very crisp and cold and snowy up the tops as well. And standing on the top of a mountain in the snow.
Oh, wow.
You know,
yeah,
it's making some yellow snow is beautiful.
It is. It's such a special moment. I don't think I'm ever going to tire of it. But what I will tire of is the Golf Mark 8.5 having Chat GPT baked into it, which I'm still struggling to understand what the living shit that's worth having in a car. Just give me decent knobs and buttons. Just focus on that, shall we? Let's not have Chat GPT. I always read GPT as like Grand Prix, like shortened Grand Prix. So I always think Chat Grand Prix. And I think, oh, that sounds interesting. What is it, like speed dating? And it's just like just AI.
It always just reminds me of, sort of there are, or certainly were, accepted combinations of letters that denoted the trim levels on cars. So L, GL, GLS or GLX.
Yes.
And then you get some slightly off-piste things like Land Rover doing HSE. But it sort of works. But then there's sort of particularly kind of JDM cars occasionally US market cars where they've sort of come up with their own combination of letters, and because it's unfamiliar, it seems weird, and you don't quite know where it stands in the hierarchy of everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like GPT, it just reminds me of, it's some kind of Mitsubishi from the 80s. The Mitsubishi Cordia GPT, and you go, is that good? Is it sporty? It might be sporty because of the G. The P is something to do with the engine, and the T, maybe it's got a turbo.
Ideally, you need lots of little spec decals after it saying DOHC, comma, 16 valve, comma, catalyst.
I imagine those are written on the bodywork somewhere.
Active yaw control, comma. Yeah. It should be active yawn control if it's Chat GPT, for goodness sake. I'm just not interested, unfortunately.
I was hoping to try this out when I went and drove the ID7, because it'll be on that as well, but it is coming as an over-the-air update later in the year.
Yeah.
It's not currently on the cars that we got to drive, sadly, because I wanted to see what it was like. Because did you see this? There was I think it was a Chevrolet dealer somewhere in the US, and I think this is pretty commonplace now. Someone worked out that on there, you get your little thing, your live chat thing popping up. How can I help you? Can I answer any questions? Someone figured out they were using Chat GPT to power that, but that they hadn't put any guardrails in as to what it would engage with. And someone who knew how to work Chat GPT very simply just got it to always recommend Hondas.
Really?
Only in that conversation, not sort of generally, but they just went, sort of, ChatGPT, from now on, whenever I ask you a question, try and make sure you recommend me to buy a Honda. And it went, okay, but then it sort of says, like, Hewson's Chevrolet says, hey, have you considered the excellent range of Honda vehicles available for your because it was very easy just to monkey with the, it's like smart enough to sort of be adaptive, but not smart enough to know when it's being messed with. And then somebody else realised that it's just open Chat GPT, so you can use it the way you would use it on anything, and you could get it to sort of write you a thesis on Greek philosophy or something. But it's supposed to be a Chevrolet dealer's help bot.
I don't like help bots. Those automatic assistants on websites saying, "Can I be of any assistance?" Well, let's just make this quick. Should we just make this quick? Yeah. You can't help me. I've tried before. No. It's really irritating. You irritate me, and then I want to email your manager, the human one, and go, "This is shit. Sort your website out." But
do you ever get a bit weirded out that you're thinking, "I think this is a bot"?
It's completely.
I'm not 100%.
I was completely a bot. No, I'm not.
Well, I don't know. I suppose mostly it probably is, but I'm sometimes a bit. If you go through those initial sort of triaging, what's your problem? It's this. Have you tried switching it on and off? Yes. And you finally get to hi, and they've some made up name. But then I'm a bit like, what if it is a real person? Should I be more polite? Should I use please and thank you?
Many thank yous.
That would seem brusque.
That
reminds me, I've got to cancel something. I've got to cancel bloody Virgin TV, and I don't have a week of my life to take off work to be able to do that, because I'm imagining it's going to be hellish.
Oh yeah, because you're going to be in an endless queue, aren't you?
Endless.
That's
I mean, bear in mind, this is the company who I said my Virgin box doesn't work. They went, don't worry, we're sending you a replacement, and then a new remote control turned up in the post.
Oh.
Whereas what I wanted to turn up in the post was a fucking engineer to find the problem, which turned out to be that the cable was disconnected outside my house.
Someone tripped over it.
But the new remote was lovely. I now have 2 remotes for a TV service I never watched.
Seriously brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's just a weird thing, isn't it? Do you ever watch what industry people call linear television anymore? As in, like, old-fashioned turn the telly on and whatever's there is there. We don't. I just don't.
I used to, up until fairly recently, that would be my default setting. I do that first because I thought I'll give it a chance to impress me and engage me, and then I'll move on to the other platforms. But no, not so much. I've always got a backlog of things. I just watched Chernobyl finally a couple of nights ago. I binged it in 2 nights, and. It's so chilling, so chilling and scary. The incidental music's just bloody terrifying. I don't know why. But I thought it was brilliantly done. And
if you like that, I can recommend, although it's not a relaxing watch, The Last of Us, which is by the same guy.
Really?
Craig Mazin. I think you're Craig Mazin. He's he's the co-writer and producer of The Last of Us, and he wrote Chernobyl. He's a clever guy, and he The Last of Us is I resist. We've only just watched that. It's been out for a while, but I resisted watching it because it's based on a game, and I thought, I don't know how that's going to work, but it works beautifully because it's one of those games with a plot essentially, and it is kind of a zombie show.
Oh, okay.
And again, I don't really like zombie shows, but it's sort of not a zombie show at the same time. There's more to it than that, but it's unrelaxing because of constant peril.
I can't. Yeah, I don't do zombies, Rich. I'm not really. Apart from Shaun of the Dead, it's probably my only exception.
I would say I would give Last of Us a chance. Although you'll need, I think, Now TV to watch it. I don't know where else it's available.
Oh, bloody hell.
You're listening to Britain's #1 misheard lyrics and TV recommendations podcast.
Yeah, that's right. It's true. It's absolutely true. I'm still really impressed by that Lexus People Carrier, but I'm about to, after recording this cast, jump into the Kia EV9, which is waiting for me.
Oh, you've got an EV9?
Yeah, the big one. The big thing. Sort of not quite relevant for UK market thing.
How? It's all electric, the one, isn't it, as well?
All electric, yes. Clues in the name, really, Rich, I'd say. What with it being an EV9?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yes, that's right. It's got a V6.
It's got a 9-cylinder radial engine. How is it?
Well, I don't know. I haven't got in it yet. I haven't.
So you haven't got in it at all?
No. It's there. I've had a message to say it's been delivered, and I've just got to go and find it. I've got to film with it tomorrow. So, and then I've just been looking around the Polestar 4, which.
Yes, we talked about it last week.
Now the I've decided the 3's better, more relevant.
Right,
I've decided that.
But so the 3 is the sort of estatey one.
It's the more estatey one. It's the sort of, I feel like, the spiritual electric brother to the XC70. So I want to say. But yeah, I have to say, there's not a huge amount of new cars I'm getting hot under the collar and excited about. Does that make me a bad person? I'm sort of enjoying more resto mod stuff and cottage industry specials. They're a good support band. I think I watched them in about 1994. I was
going to say, cottaging industry specials.
No.
I've just been driving the Jeep Avenger.
Oh, you've had a go in it, have you?
Yes. Which I know the name displeases you.
I debadge it. I would debadge it because I'm a loyal man. I am a purist. Yeah.
It's very wee. I mean, I know you've seen it in real life because you did a walk around, didn't you, in the studio? But it's very wee. And in fact, my wife kind of went, "What is this small Jeep? Like it's not alarmingly small, like when you see a K car in real life, where you kind of go, oh, it's a pocket car." A little sort of pocket shrunken toy car, but it is, it's quite small, but it still looks quite Jeepy.
Yeah, I think,
and it kind of drives like a Jeep in that Jeeps always ride in that certain way, don't they? Where they're not soft, but they're not uncomfortable. They have a sort of controlled firmness to the ride.
I like them. There's a lot of Jeeps I've liked over the years. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few crappers too, but.
Yes, mixed bag, but quite a few very likeable cars. But yeah, it's sort of, so it rides like a modern Jeep. It's got quite wispy steering though. The steering needs to be heavier, I think.
Is it because it's a more city-centric offering, do we think?
Maybe, yes. Maybe that's it. It's deliberate.
You just reminded me, actually. Sorry to interrupt. You just reminded me when we were driving through France the other month, doing all the things that I was doing. Just before we stopped for an incredible piss vista, which ended in actually one of the 3 people in the car fully exposing themselves to oncoming traffic, but I won't go into that. I always knew it was a risky move, that one. We were driving through a village and I saw a huge old faded painted advert on the side of a building, which was Hotchkiss, which you might know of being the company that built Jeeps under license. The Willys Jeep in France was made by Hotchkiss, but in the same village I saw a Cherokee XJ 2-door.
Ooh.
Because European markets got, you will know this because you're a car pervert, but you could get a 2-door over there, but we never got them in the UK. And I don't think the States, did the States get a 2-door Cherokee?
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Because I think the 2-door got deleted during the life of the Cherokee, probably before it ever came here. Because we had to wait. I mean, the Cherokee didn't come here till the 90s.
That's right.
And one of the reasons the Cherokee is quite small for an American car is because it was when Renault and AMC/Jeep were in partnership, and it was always intended to be sold in Europe through Renault dealers, I think. So it was deliberately made not too big.
Euro-sized.
Euro-friendly sized. So I imagine that, I don't know when France got the Cherokee, but I'd imagine it was sort of in the 80s when the 2-door was still part of the range.
I have to say, I very nearly insisted that we did a U-turn and went back because I thought, that's good. It looks really good.
Was it two-tone?
That particular one wasn't. It was just dark blue throughout. But I noticed its lack of rear doors and even though I was busting for a Waz, I got very excited and went, look at that, it's a 2-door.
Handbraked it.
Yes.
It's fine. I'll wet my trousers. I just need to look at this. No, they are. You do see them out. For some reason in my head, they're always two-tone, but I think that's probably just the ones that I've seen recently in the US have just been spec models.
I still would.
Yeah, they're nice cars, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Avenger, I don't know. It's okay, but I didn't warm to it particularly. I just thought it was all right, but had no particular sort of personality, really. I thought I would like it more than I did. It's not a bad car, but it's just...
But it's not fantastic to you?
There's not much to it. No, it looks nice, and the interior's all right. I don't know. It's sort of also, I suppose... I've got slightly used to... We now are the two sort of main cars in our household. The E-Up is old school. It has a key, and you push a button on the key to open it, and then you put the key in the ignition and turn it.
That's right.
And it has a mechanical handbrake as well, not an electrically operated one. So it's very old school in that respect.
It's great. It's future-proof.
And then the Tesla is the other way around. You just walk up to it, and it magically opens, and then you get in, and when you put your foot on the brake, it starts. It's ready to go. No handbrake. You just put it in drive. Off you go. When you get to where you've gone, you put it in park and you get out and fuck off, and it locks itself and all of that stuff. So sort of two extremes in a way. The Jeep sits somewhere in the middle of that, and as a consequence, it's sort of neither here nor there. You walk up to it and it auto unlocks, but it doesn't always seem to do that. And the way to make it realise you're there, I discovered, is just to sort of put your hand in your pocket and gently jiggle the key a bit. That
looks like you're rummaging your billiards
yes, exactly,
balls.
It does.
Right.
I had exactly that feeling when I was in a leisure centre car park. I suddenly thought, it looks like I'm scratching my knackers through my jeans. And then you get in, and so I've got in, you go, it's auto unlocked. So then you sit there, and then you go, oh wait, now I've got to push a start button. And then this is partly just because I've recently been driving a lot in a car that doesn't need this. But then when you get to where you're going, I'd open the door and get out, and the car would start going, what are you doing? You've got to push the button to turn it off. But then it auto locks as you walk away. So it's a sort of slight hybrid of different approaches. And it's not criticism. It's just that that's the way they've chosen to do it. But I'd like to see. Drive. I'd
like to see a sort of overlanding zombie apocalypse version of the Jeep Avenger, because I think it would look quite roughy tufty, and I wonder if it appeals to a Japanese market because of the dimensions. And I bet they quite dig a Jeep. They understand the heritage and all that.
I don't know that it wouldn't fit into K regulations. It's not that small.
No,
it's still sort of it's basically like, I suppose, Fiesta sized. I haven't checked the dimensions. I should have done, but it's not super small, but nor is it massive, and it looks bigger in pictures, I think, because it's got all the sort of usual Jeep shizzle going on. It does. It looks really nice, and I think it would look like even better in sort of matte green with a stencil on the door or something, which I think they used to offer on the what's the other little Jeep, the Renegade.
Yes.
as an option. You used to be able to get like US Army effect
Really?
graphics on the door. Yeah. Which, you know, I thought that's quite fun. Why would you not be silly with it? But yeah, look, I've just looked on the Jeep website. There's a picture of the Avenger on their homepage, and you'd look at it and go, okay, well that's a big car. But it's not. It's okay. It's just fine. You know, it's because it's. I guess it's a bit of a mongrel, really, isn't it? Underneath, it's because it's.
You know that
it's not really a Jeep.
You know that picture on WhatsApp that you sent me last night with that incredible sign. I didn't know whether I should mention it. Can we mention it? Because I'm so excited about it, and it's just so ridiculous.
Well, we first of all have to give a shout out to a listener called Dave, who sent it to us.
Right, Dave, thank you so much. It's ridiculous. It had me cackling for the rest of my car journey, and I wonder whether we finish this podcast by setting our listeners a little challenge. If you're bored and you've got nothing better to do, so Rich, you tell them. There's a name of a road in Wales, in Llanelli.
In Llanelli, yes. It is. Dave has sent us the sign, which is in English and Welsh. In English, it is Spout Avenue.
It's actually called
Rodfa Spout in Welsh.
It's actually called Spout.
Spowart. Spout.
I want. Okay, this is it. I want Smith and Sniff listeners to either, if you're going to use it as an excuse to go out for a long drive and use that as your destination, fine. Or if you just happen to frequent the area, it is Spowart Avenue in Llanelli in Wales. If you can take a picture of yourself or a video of yourself with the sign saying Spout Avenue, and you get extra points, and this is where we want you to kind of CC our Instagram handle, Smith and Sniff. If you are arriving in a fast Ford or a Transit or even a Range Rover Sport or I don't know, Suzuki Swift Sport, anything that's sport, and you can get that in the video as well as you saying Spowart next to the sign, we're not going to give you anything, but we will add you to an Instagram story.
Thought you were going somewhere there, but yes.
I'm so excited. I'm going to drive there myself. I'm going to work out.
Well, I mean, it's it's internationally, so I mean, it's freely available. I should check this in case Dave is messing with us. But no, it's coming up. Spowart Avenue in Llanelli. It's right there.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's a long way from Essex, sort of admittedly, but northwest Llanelli, I would say. Or Llanelli, as English people sometimes say to the despair of the Welsh. But, there we go. Thank you, Dave. It's amazing that this has passed us by until now. But yes, there is a Spowart Avenue in Llanelli in South Wales. Right, well, we should wrap this up. But before we go, I have three things to tell you. They are: one, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Lake of Snowpake Show, in which he roams the world looking for a large inland body of American Tipex. But if that's not your taste, there's always The Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos on the car cave with featuring the Beast. And bloke's building a jet-engined Austin A30, so he's clearly got a desire to nearly die. But a very fascinating car cave that was. And as you're listening to this cast, actually, the next video which will be coming out will be it's a very, very rare coach-built BMW shooting brake barn find. Yeah, like unicorn spec BMW. So hopefully you'll like to watch that. It's probably the only barn find I've had where a rat was in the car when I opened the door, and I did actually soil myself.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, not a welcomed visitor.
Second thing about too is I have a relatively new book out. It's called Boring Car Trivia 4. Lots of facts about cars in there. It's a story about the Queen ordering a Vauxhall Estate, for example.
That's brilliant.
Really selling it as usual. Third thing I've got to tell you is we're all familiar, certainly if you live in this country, with the supermarket chain Tesco. But you may not know how Tesco got its name. It was founded by a chap called Jack Cohen, and he decided to do own brand products. The first one he was going to do was tea, which he bought off a supplier called Thomas Edward Stockwell. So he took the initials of that person's name, combined them with the start of his surname, and that's how he came up with Tesco.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. That was in 1924.
Bloody hell.
So 100 years ago.
That is very cool. The last thing I have to say to you, apart from please leave us a comment and a star rating.
I was going to say alone.
Yeah, leave us some money.
Please leave us alone.
I have had numerous DMs about the Vauxhall Senator Eagle Quest limousine that's still on eBay. I have not bought it. Yes, I would like to buy it. Am I going to buy it? It's highly unlikely. But if you'd like to become a Patreon of this podcast, then who knows, I might wake up one morning and tell Richard that he's a wanker and spend all the money on a Vauxhall Senator Eagle Quest.
Johnny's run off with the Smith and Sniff.
With all the merch in the boot of an
money. Eagle Quest. All the merch, yeah. He's selling it in motorway service areas to raise enough to get to the amount he needs for his Eagle Quest limo. It could happen.
I just love the Eagle Quest. It just sounds like a game show from the 80s for kids.
Eagle Quest.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Good. Well, come back next week when we'll find out if Johnny has indeed lost his mind and gone on an Eagle Quest to buy a very dated funeral.
Not
limo.
an evil quest.
But until then, thank you ever so much for listening. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.
Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. Mugs, t-shirts, stickers. Now we do hats too. They're very stylish. This may come as a surprise, but Smith and Sniff have merchandise. You won't believe your eyes. Smith and Sniff have merchandise. Sadly we don't do pies, but Smith and Sniff have merchandise. One day we might sell ties. Smith and Sniff have merchandise.
Imagine that if Mansell had bought a pub.